west line due to a grade crossing incident near Lombard. The outbound Ryan local lanes remain closed. 47th Skyway after early morning rollover and spilled load. Traffic is diverted into the express lanes at 47th. Inbound delays are 95th Skyway from the Stevenson to the Burns Circle. It's 25 minutes, 95th to downtown. The Edens is fine. Kennedy, 32 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. The Eisenhower, 45 minutes, 390 to the Burns Circle. Stevenson, 52 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Northbound Tri-State, traffic is slow. Plainfield Road to 31st. Next from the Reagan Tollway to the Eisenhower. Northbound Veterans Memorial tight, 63rd to the Reagan Tollway. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. The day setting up to be pretty mild, especially for the morning. Occasional rain and drizzle and a high of 47. Turning breezy with rain, turning to ice and sleet overnight, a low of 34. Currently 48 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. While Trump was making his way to Toledo, Ohio for a rally, Nancy Pelosi was holding forth before the assembled press. And, she's been annoyed, but she answered the questions anyway. How dare you question her? She will turn over those impeachment articles when she's darn good and ready.
You will keep asking me the same question. I keep giving you the same answer. As I said right from the start, we need to see the arena in which we are sending our managers. Is that too much to ask? In October, we put forth H.R. 660, which is House resolution, which talked about the terms under which we would proceed to further proceed with the investigation, so that people knew what the battlefield would look like. We expect to see that.
Pressed again on it, though. She provides more pushback until she doesn't.
So are you willing to hold on to the articles indefinitely?
I'm holding them indefinitely. I'll send them over when I'm ready. And that will probably be soon.
And that will probably be soon.
Well, and then there was rumors yesterday within the next 24 hours. We just had Brett Barron, who says that it'll probably happen at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
The Friday dump before the weekend.
Yes, exactly. And this against the Mitch McConnell signing on to Josh Hawley's resolution, senator from Missouri, we talked about earlier in the week, which would give the House 25 days to send the articles of impeachment over. After that, a senator can offer a motion to dismiss with prejudice for failure by the House of Representatives to prosecute such articles with a simple majority vote. And apparently McConnell also indicating to his caucus that we're going to begin next week, articles or no articles. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney in Manhattan, contributing editor to National Review, author of the book Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, good morning.
Morning. And so this seems to be Nancy Pelosi finding out she doesn't have the leverage she thought she had.
Yeah, and I don't know why they're in a hurry to disabuse her of that reality. I think McConnell's first instinct all along has been right, which is, if she's not in a hurry to send them over, we're not in a hurry to have them. And every day and every minute that she doesn't hand them over, this comes to seem like exactly what it has always been from the start, which is a political stunt. And we get to rehash the fact that they told us again and again they had to act expeditiously. They couldn't litigate to see if they could get access to the main witnesses. We couldn't wait for the sovereign, the American people, to decide President Trump's fate in November. we had to be in a hot hurry to do this because Donald Trump was a clear and imminent threat to the election. And now, once they got their impeachment articles voted, they said they weren't in such a hurry. So, I just think it looks like it's such naked politics that the Republicans should be delighted to let it look that way.
Can you imagine a scenario where it would make any sense to have witnesses in this proceeding, to open the door to Bolton and Mulvaney and Biden and the whistleblower and so forth?
Well, I can, and the reason is because McConnell does not have, right now in this battle with Pelosi over whether she's going to do the ministerial act of delivering the articles of impeachment, he's playing a strong hand. But once the proceedings actually get into the Senate, his margin for error is not great, or his margin for losing Republicans. And, if 3 or 4 Republicans decide that they would like to hear witnesses, it will be hard to stop that from happening. And what I've always thought was that witnesses were the tripwire here, because I don't think you can have some and not have both sides have the ones that they want. So I don't see that you have a proceeding from the president's standpoint. I could see the president saying, look, if you want to have a bifurcated proceeding where the House managers come in and present the case, the Republicans and the president's counsel get to rebut it in a kind of a lawyerly, argumentative way, and then the senators can vote on whether they think this is worthy of further proceedings and witnesses and the like, or want to dismiss it on the basis of what they've heard. That's fine. But from Trump's standpoint, if you're going to start having witnesses, like if you're going to give them Bolton and Mulvaney and all these people that the House didn't call in the impeachment stage, and you're going to present those people in the trial, then I think Trump is going to want his witnesses too, and then it's off to the races.
Well, right. And doesn't the scenario that you just described answer your previous question about why not just sit back and wait for Pelosi to deliver the articles of impeachment rather than sort of precipitate the trial as McConnell seems intent to do? It's because, and this was sort of Trey Gowdy's point too, is because you don't want to go into the trial with unknowns. You don't want to go into the trial with new witnesses. So let's get this thing moving. Both sides can present their case. And if we've got the votes, let's vote our shares post haste.
Yeah, the reason I disagree with that is because I think the longer she delays delivering it, the stronger the argument is to dismiss it basically on the papers without hearing from witnesses. In other words, if you had a real impeachable offense, they wouldn't be able to wait to get this to a Senate trial.
Right.
They'd want it at a Senate trial immediately. The reason that you're having this kind of gamesmanship is because they know that what they're delivering is a frivolous case. And I think every day that she delays, it looks more and more nakedly political, which makes it a stronger argument to dismiss it without witnesses.
Who's going to be President Trump's chief counsel? And please tell me Rudy Giuliani is going to be nowhere near this.
Well, I don't think Rudy will be, Rudy's in a position of potentially being a witness if there are witnesses. So I don't think he would be participating as a lawyer in the proceeding. Now, look, the president can take advice from whoever he wants to take advice from, but I don't think he will have Rudy participating as a lawyer in the proceeding. I imagine it will be the White House counsel's office, and the president may have some outside counsel as well.
Mike Lee, senator from Utah, had an interesting op-ed on Fox News website this week. He's a strict constructionist, so he actually referred back to the Constitution that Nancy Pelosi likes to refer to on again, off again, sort of in the abstract, what she wishes were in the Constitution. But he talked about the Senate's responsibility per the Constitution when it comes to being the responsible party, the trier of fact. And he said, this idea that we're just a jury, that's wrong. We're not just a jury. And this was actually a point that was litigated in the Clinton impeachment. Tom Harkin, Democrat from Iowa, objecting to the use of the term jury, and then Chief Justice Rehnquist sustaining that objection because, as Lee argues, we absolutely are more than just the trier of fact. We do have to take politics into consideration. It's actually part of our responsibility to make decisions in the best interest of the American people with respect to removing a president from office, and that necessarily is in part a political calculation.
Yeah, Lee is right about that. The senators are not just the jury. The Senate runs the proceeding. They're the judge too. The only reason that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is there presiding is really more of a ministerial and appearances thing than anything else. And what I mean by that is normally the Vice President of the United States is the President of the Senate, but it would be unseemly to have the Vice President preside over a proceeding where if the President gets removed, the Vice President becomes the President. So the framers, realizing that that was not a good conflict situation to stray into, had to have a situation or have a construct where the Chief Justice at least appears to be presiding, but the Chief Justice's role is very ministerial. The Senate runs the proceeding. To the extent there's law of the proceeding, the Senate decides what it is. The Chief Justice's authority is very minimal. And when we talk about politics here, we're not talking about politics in the kind of pejorative sense we usually throw the word around. Impeachment is about the stripping of political power, and that's the check that's been given to the Senate in the Constitution. So they absolutely have an obligation in this proceeding to take control over the ultimate question of whether the president's political power should be stripped. And that entails not only making the ultimate judgment, but making all of the rulings along the way that decide whether that happens or not.
I've got another argument in terms of why McConnell should expedite this. That is so that we can get done with this impeachment and then we can get on to the next one, because I'm excited to see what the next articles of impeachment are going to be.
Yeah, well, they are not shutting down their investigation. That's true. And, be interesting to see if they have the audacity to throw more articles at the Senate while the first proceeding is still underway. But, look, Dan, that'll just underscore what a farce this is. And again, I've been saying for a long time now, impeachment has an eye test. We grapple with the idea of the abstract legal definition of what a high crime and misdemeanor is. But the simple fact of the matter, and the framers brilliantly made this construct, if you don't have misconduct that's so egregious that it moves the public such that there's political pressure on 2/3 of the Senate, a supermajority, to transcend their political and ideological ties and vote to remove the president, you don't have an impeachable offense. And I still think that, let's say you had a situation where Mueller had actually proved that Trump was in cahoots with Putin. If that had been proved, it wouldn't matter where in the election cycle, where in the electoral calendar you were. If that fact had been proved, the American people would demand that the president be removed from office, and that would happen instantly. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, if you really had an impeachable offense here, there would be no gamesmanship about getting the proceeding rolling in the Senate and the House transmitting those articles. They'd be anxious to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you can't even get 2/3 of the senators' constituents interested, much less applying pressure. Andy McCarthy, former chief assistant U.S. attorney, contributing editor at National Review, the book, Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks as always for joining us and providing your insights. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
You too.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is attorney Stephen Leahy, host of the IRS Radio Hour, heard right here on AM 560 every Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. Let me tell you about Bill. Bill's business slowed down and he fell behind on his taxes. Instead of filing his tax return, he decided to wait until he could pay. Well, 1 year turned to 2, turned to 3. Then the IRS threatened to contact his customers, take his house, his bank account, and his passport. Well, Bill hired me. We filed all of his tax returns and an appeal to slow the IRS down. Then we worked out an installment agreement based on how much he could pay, not on how much he owed. Now Bill can rely on the IRS protection plan. We will file his future tax returns and keep the